Well, it is what it is. What's going on, guys? What's going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video, and we've got some news to talk about. Obviously, you guys know what happened. I waited this long on purpose. I was actually off of work today. I waited this long on purpose so I can get as much information as I can. You know, you see all the interviews and stuff that comes out. I just didn't want to read John Mara's kind of statement that he put out earlier today. We're going to get into all of it right now, but first, of course, we got to thank our sponsors, BetUS, for sponsoring the channel. Make sure you guys check them out for a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit. Your second and third are 125%. As long as you use the promo code YouTube150. And plus, for those of you that likes casinos, BetUS has their own casino, 200% sign-up bonus up to $5,000 and a 250% crypto sign-up bonus up to $5,000. All right, so let's get into it. So this morning, I came across this on Twitter. Of course, everybody was already up. You guys got no lives. I was up, and I've seen posts from like an hour, 2 hours ago. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's tweeting about it. I'm like, golly, you guys don't have jobs? But without further ado, let's get into the statement that John Mara put out this morning. It says, now that our season is over, we felt that it was necessary to make this statement. Schoen and Daboll will continue their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve, Tish, and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented and their vision for our team. We look forward to the future and achieving the results we all desire. And he also had a little bit of a presser in which he asked a lot of questions. It was kind of confusing. He had a hard time really coming up with reasons why to keep Joe Schoen and Daboll. And then somebody asked towards the end, you know, is it more of trusting in their process, trusting in those guys, Daboll and Joe Schoen, or is it more of just the fear of starting all over again? This is what he said.
Is it more belief in them than the pain of having to start over? Or is it not wanting to start over?
I think it's a combination of things. It's a belief in them, number one. But number two, I think when you start over, you really set yourselves back. And when you have a belief in the two individuals that are leading the organization, you have to have the patience to stay with it. And again, if I'm standing here a year from now and we're having the same conversation, I'll take the heat for it. But I still think we still believe that it's the right decision going forward.
And also, he said this to shut down all the talks about tanking.
Quarterback positions, you had the #1 pick 2 weeks ago, and then you win the Colts game, and then it seemed like you didn't go all out yesterday. But why not have just tanked if you knew they were coming back?
If I had thought that we were tanking either one of those games, I would have fired everybody. We are never going to do that in this organization as long as I'm standing on this side of the grass.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second, to be honest with you. John Mara, if we know John Mara at all, listen, he's no games, all right? He wants to win every single game possible, and if you're losing to the Eagles backups like that and only scoring 13 points on them, you're out the door. I'm sorry. Now, obviously, we all kind of knew Joe Schoen was going to be back, but I told you guys from the get-go, they both were going to be back if the Giants were indeed tanking, and I think a lot of people have come to the agreement already that they were tanking, and that Indianapolis Colts game, I feel, was a sort of Giants pride moment where it's like, we can just win one game, right? We don't have to lose every game. It's a Giants pride moment to win that game and give the fans something to look at as far as a home. I guess it was a pride thing. John Mara probably didn't want it to happen. The coaches, they didn't want it to happen. You know, they want to win one home game before the end of the season. And surprisingly, I don't think there was a plane flying all over the field in that Colts game, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there was a plane with a message to Mr. Mara. I think they shut that down real quick. And a lot of people are upset about this. I'm not thrilled about it either. I'm not happy about it. I'm not go-lucky about it because I really don't like Joe Schoen. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't defend him anymore. I tried my best to defend him. You guys know, if you guys followed me for this long in the 2022 draft, I hated that draft, and I tried my best to look at the bright side of everything. I hated that draft, besides the first two picks, but those wound up to be not as good either. but I've had it with Joe Schoen. I don't like his roster building. I have no clue what his plan is. I have no clue what he likes to do. He's gone backwards. The team's record has gone backwards, and the shape of the roster has kind of been indicative of that. But like I said, I just don't like Joe Schoen that much. I like Brian Daboll. Listen, put me in jail. Put me in jail. Unsubscribe, whatever. Dislike the video. I don't care what you guys say. I do like Brian Daboll. I'm not going to go with I don't like to go with the trend that everybody likes to do, like who's popular in this moment. Oh, we hate Brian Daboll in this moment. We don't like Joe Schoen in this moment. Because I remember the same guys that hated Daniel Jones also loved Brian Daboll and said, poor Brian Daboll for having to deal with Daniel Jones. And now it's the same people saying that they hate Brian Daboll. They just like to complain. I will say that I still like Brian Daboll, and I trust him. This is my mindset. My mindset is, if the Giants are actually tanking, then this is not the best product that they can put out on the field. This is not the best coaching job that Brian Daboll can do. We know Brian Daboll has overachieved with the past 2 rosters last year, winning 6 games with a roster that probably only should have won 2, and going to a playoff game with, in his first season, winning Coach of the Year, winning a playoff game with Daniel Jones, for crying out loud, and having a winning season at that. The first time this team has done that since 2016. I still have trust in Brian Daboll. You got to think of it like this, guys. If they are actually tanking, then that is not the best product that they're putting out on the field. I will say that the reason why they're tanking is because the team is in absolute shambles as far as roster building, and that falls on Joe Schoen. I'm not going to sit here and say none of it falls on Brian Daboll, because like I said, if Brian Daboll was fired, I probably wasn't going to lose any sleep about it. I don't really care that much. However, I do like Brian Daboll, and I do think that he can take us somewhere if he gets his quarterback. I'm not going to, we don't owe anything to Brian Daboll, right? We're Giants fans. We're not Brian Daboll's fans. We're not Daniel Jones fans. So that and so forth. We're not Joe Schoen fans. We're Giants fans. I think Brian Daboll can get us there with the right pieces. I think he can get us there with a good quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a quarterback whisperer that many Brian Daboll fans say, but I think he can get it done. I've watched him on film. I've watched the play designs that he's created, and I like what I see. Maybe it's just me being a Giants fan that has seen some terrible offense over the past couple of years, but I like Brian Daboll and what he wants to do. Now the question is, are they even going to get a quarterback? They've mentioned it. John Mara has talked about it. Brian Daboll talked about it. And Joe Schoen, of course, has talked about it. And they all discussed, getting a quarterback, whether that be free agency or the draft. It's the same stuff you're going to hear over and over again. My prediction is they are going to sign somebody like a Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields, somebody that can actually start NFL games, but you don't have to be completely committed to. Not like Drew Lock. Drew Lock is a backup in the NFL. He is not a starter in the NFL. Maybe he'll have an ascension like Sam Darnold, but he's a backup right now in the NFL. They're going to sign somebody that is cheap and that can start as a contingency just in case they aren't able to come up with a quarterback in this year's draft. Now, there are speculations. We hear now that Cam Ward is now the favorite to be the number 1 overall pick, and that is a nightmare for me because I love Cam Ward a lot more than Shedeur Sanders, and we may not even get Shedeur Sanders either. Now, there is obviously talk that Deion is not going to let Shedeur go to Cleveland. We don't know if that's the case yet. Cleveland is definitely a place that you don't want your son to go, so I don't know if Deion would be okay with Shedeur going over there, and it's a terrible market. It's not a good market. Now, as far as coaching changes goes, as far as, the lower tier guys like Mike Kafka and Shane Bowen, I think both of them will be gone. Mike Kafka, I think, will leave on his own. He's either going to take a head coaching job somewhere or another offensive coordinator job somewhere. I think he wants to get the hell out of Dodge. Mike Kafka already has an interview set up with the Chicago Bears for their head coaching vacancy. We'll see if he picks up any other ones. He was the runner-up for the Arizona job when Jonathan Gannon got it, and I believe he was the runner-up for the Indianapolis job before Shane Steichen got it. So I think he's going to finally, strike gold and get a job somewhere after all those interviews, and we'll see if it's a head coaching job or offensive coordinator job, but he is probably out of here, and he probably definitely wants to be out of here. Shane Bowen, on the other hand, I told you guys from the get-go, Shane Bowen was never Brian Daboll's guy. John Mara kind of threw Shane Bowen under the bus, talking about the defense more so than the offense, said that the defense performed terribly this season and that he needed to see more from them. I don't think Shane Bowen is going to be back with the team. I think he was just simply a guy to get them through this season, and he was definitely not their number one option. It took them so long to get Shane Bowen in the building, where all of their candidates were just dropping like flies, not taking the Giants job and taking other jobs elsewhere, like Denard Wilson, I think he was the Baltimore secondary coach, and he wound up being the Tennessee defensive coordinator. So he took Shane Bowen's job, and Shane Bowen came here. So yeah, terrible defense. I mean, it's probably the worst version of a Vic Fangio defense ever. It's just basic. It's not creative, and they showed that on the field. And if you look at the body language between, John Mara, it doesn't look like he's happy about it. But like I said, he had a hard time coming up with excuses for Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. I think he just wants. I think at the end of the day, he wants to get rid of these guys. But I think it's more the fear of starting over and kind of. They have something, right? I guess they have something. He kind of talked about Joe Schoen and him bringing in a more youthful way to get players in here, and a more youthful way of doing all their kind of jobs and stuff like that. I don't really know how to. Their strategies are more high tech. They got computers. They got different ways of scouting, things like that. And with Brian Daboll, he talked about him being a former coach of the year and stuff like that. You look at Joe Schoen's presser, he kind of looked a little bit frustrated. He looked kind of annoyed. Definitely, you should be. But if you look at Brian Daboll, he kind of looked a little bit more upbeat. He smiled. As soon as you click on the video, he was smiling, laughing, chuckling, if you will. I think he is definitely happy that he got to keep his job, and I think he just found out he was keeping his job. I think those rumors were true. Joe Schoen knew he was safe, and Brian Daboll didn't know his future. And you can tell that by the kind of the reaction of both of those guys in those press conferences, where Joe Schoen was a little bit more frustrated but laid back, and Daboll was a little bit more kind of upbeat, not necessarily like cheerful, but kind of upbeat, looked grateful. And so yeah, but I really want to know what you guys think. Leave it in the comment section below. I don't know if there's anything I left out. There's a lot of information to go around. You guys can check out all the interviews and see for yourself. I didn't want to sit here and bore you by clipping up everything and showing you guys, but just trying to give my thoughts on what's been going on and a little bit of what they've been saying as well. So maybe I'll be live later on today. It's 5:30 right now. Let's see how fast I can put up this video. Maybe I'll be live later today to get you guys' opinions and thoughts, but because our last live stream was absolutely amazing yesterday, and it seems like you guys want me to live stream a lot more, so that makes me happy. So that being said, leave your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you guys are new, and thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video, and we'll see you guys in the next video.